howdy. Thanks for joining me for this talk. I hope you like the intro, throwing a little Linkin Park. So this talk is called Hybrid Gnostic Theory. That's why I played some Linkin Park. And, the lyrics to, that song Crawling by Linkin Park, fear is how I fall, confusing what is real. So that's always it's a good lyric to remind you that fear is an illusion. Some people say fake evidence appearing real. So if you get anything from my talks, it's to be brave and get rid of the fear in your life, because it's an illusion of your mind. So some of you might be familiar with Linkin Park and Hybrid Theory. This album got me through a lot during my teenage years. These were the songs I would listen to when I was trapped and had no agency of my own. Forced to go to school, forced to go on family trips as a child. I was a kid in the back seat in the hoodie with his headphones, just in his own world, wanting to do my own thing. So music has been medicine my whole life. Listening to this music brings me back to why I rejected society in the first place. And then if I bring up Chester Bennington and Linkin Park, I have to mention how, before Chester Bennington was killed, him and Chris Cornell, they were working on a documentary about child trafficking. And, as usual, the media plays their part and said it was suicide, covers up the murder of, some beautiful people here that were trying to make a change. So now you got to take a look at John Podesta next to Chester Bennington. Probably going to blow your mind if you haven't seen that, but I like to start these talks with a little conspiracy sometimes. This talk today is about the Gnostic tradition. I've been listening to John Lamb Lash, if you haven't heard of him, and I bought his book, Not in His Image. So if anybody is to credit for these ideas I'm about to talk about, it's him. Alright, I want to give this guy all the credit. He's a wild man. Although I do not see it exactly the same way yet. This guy's got a lot deeper knowledge about being a Gnostic. He has inspired me to go in this Gnostic direction and have this talk. Gnosis is simply Greek for knowledge. The etymology of gnosis, knowledge, especially special knowledge of spiritual mysteries. From the Greek gnosis, a knowing, knowledge, a judicial inquiry, investigation, a being known. In a nutshell, I look at gnosis as having first-hand experience of something. You know it, and nobody can tell you otherwise. You experienced it, and it was real. It was not a book taught to you. It was not a belief, or it was not a book taught to you. It was not a theory told to you. It was not somebody else's story that they experienced and told you. No belief or trust is involved when you have first-hand experience of something. I always go back to the mysteries of this realm we inhabit. All I can know is my story I am experiencing. In other words, mystery, my story. That's all I can really know. I think that's all any of us could ever know, is your personal first-hand experience, your personal story. Otherwise, it's just what somebody else is telling you. And that's just not a wise way to live off of other people's stories. So I want to talk about the power of storytelling. Stories are central to each individual life. Stories define us and make us act according to what story we believe. This is why I only trust my story I'm experiencing. Then when I listen to somebody else who I have never met and I find synchronicities, I know they are genuine. Usually they are just talking about their own experiences and don't ask you to trust them. The people I trust tell me not to trust their word. Instead, they insist I go find these things out on my own. And I hope this is how my message comes across to you. Don't trust me. Take what I tell you and test it out if you dare or care enough about the truth. I have learned when people force you to believe an idea, like when you go to school, or force you to blindly trust them, like government, they're heartless, unintelligent people who do not speak the truth. Truth and love cannot be forced. Lies and fear must be forced inside so the heart dies. I had a grand epiphany a few days ago about the heart. I've been viewing this battle we face in the entire wrong way. It's not the mind that is controlled or defeated. Because I always talk about mind control and how government, the etymology of government, control the mind. That's just one aspect of things. It's not the mind that is controlled or defeated. It is the heart. Duh. It was like such an epiphany to realize what's gone wrong here is people have had their hearts conquered. Not their heads. Not their heads. It's they're using their heads to conquer the heart. You know. Once the heart has been conquered, you lose everything about your true nature and this realm we share. The heart knows what the mind can never know. I have realized the battle of the heart starts as a child. This is the whole reason children are forced to go to school. Try to remember the way you were before you were forced to learn anything. Naturally curious, full of wonder and imagination, playful, looking forward to the endless adventures to come. My first talk goes into this, the magic of knowing nothing. You are sent to school to have your heart destroyed and curiosity crushed. As a child, you are not given a choice to grow naturally in love and freedom. You're forced to memorize stories that convince you not to listen to your heart anymore. Working at a school, I witness this all day, every day, and I want to do something about it. It's so wrong to see how they twist a child's mind and then try to destroy its heart through the mind. And it's not like anybody knows this. They're just following the rituals that they went through as kids, and it's just been ingrained in them like somebody programming a robot, a heartless robot. They may have twisted my mind, I will never forget my formative years and how I never let them conquer my heart. They may have twisted my mind and set me off on the wrong course, but my heart always stood strong, silent at times. I've always had a deep inner knowing that this is no way to treat a child. Now I've come full circle. My heart is fully open again. And you should check out this song by Doris Day, Secret Love. I don't know, it's just listening to that song this week. It's really touched me. It's a beautiful song. I'll put it in my description. I hope you are starting to realize how important it is to blaze your own trail here and know thyself before you do anything else. Knowing thyself is knowing your heart. So now I want to talk about the ancient Gnostic tradition, or paganism, as some call it, according to John Lash. In his book, Not in His Image, the first chapter is dedicated to the story of the death of Hypatia. Hypatia's wisdom and beauty were unmatched, according to the story. She was a teacher of mathematics, astrology, and philosophy in the city of Alexandria around 415 AD. Still at the kind of the end of the Roman Empire. Back then, society was not so specialized as it is today. People were far more well-rounded back then than we are today. Debates on philosophy were alive and well in those times. Hypatia often debated Christians on their ridiculous claims. And then, as the story goes, one spring day, as she was leaving the library where she studied, a large crowd of Christians stopped her chariot. They pulled her off her chariot and brutally killed her. All this big mass group of Christians that, they had that righteousness in them. They thought they had the right to silence somebody else. And the details will make you sick of what they did to her, after they pulled her off and killed her. It's just, you can look all that up, if you want to know, but it really made me sick hearing what they did to her. To make a long story short, Hypatia's death marked the end of the fading Gnostic tradition and the triumph of Christianity, the final act of the new religion prevailing against the ancient world's knowledge. After her death, the Christians destroyed all the books she had wrote. You can't find any of the books she wrote. I mean, it's just... And all the wisdom of the Gnostics was lost to the ages. Now they refer to the Gnostics as savage pagans who were not studied or intelligent. The big old... how history has been rewrote in such a disgusting way. Nothing could be further from the truth. They were the intelligent ones back then, debating people openly. Their hearts were open. They would talk to anybody about these things, and they didn't use violence, like other belief systems did. But this is how history goes when it's wrote by liars and thieves. But of course, the truth always finds its way back to us. In 1945, the Nag Hammadi texts were discovered, and the Gnostic tradition is being studied and talked about today. The Gnostic tradition is a creation myth. It's a story that talks about a father god, Philotai, and a mother goddess, Sophia. The goddess Sophia fell in order to create this earth we share. She gave herself in order for us to be created and have a home. This is the major difference in the Gnostic tradition from all the other creation myth traditions. We're in our home right here, right now. This is it. No need to wait for the afterlife, as they call it. You're in your spiritual home. And I listen to that John Lamb Lash, and he's like, I don't like the word spiritual, and I can see why. I'm beginning to see why we talk about spirituality and like spirit is something separate from us. Like we're in a physical body and there's some spiritual something that we can't see. When I think you can know that it's all together. Your spirit physical reality. Everything is at one, right here, right now in front of you. This talks about Sophia, which some people could call it Maya, some people call it Gaia, but it's like Mother Earth. She's here, right around us, all the time. Like, if you believe in some sort of creator, why would they leave us? Why would they be separate from us? It's like your mom and dad having you and then see ya. No, they're here with us. I mean, if that's the case, we are experiencing our divine lives directly, here and now, in these temporary forms. Each of us is unique in all of creation. We're not separate from our Creator. She's with us all day, every day, all around us with her beauty and open arms. If only we could recognize it. My time in nature has convinced me of this beauty. We're not sinners that have fallen. We're not citizens of a country to follow some rulers. We are and will always be one with our Creator, regardless of what we think about it. There was no beginning to creation, and there will be no end. Each day, you have the opportunity to co-create a new reality here, if you dare. Each moment is the start of a new creation. Try to think about that, Creation never started, it never ended. It's just here right now for you to enjoy. Why deny that? Why try to complicate it and muddy those waters when you can know it's right here, right now? So another part of the story from the Gnostic tradition is that when Sophia fell to create this realm, she made a mistake. So I know a lot of people cannot accept that proposition of a deity making a mistake. They're perfect. They know everything and right? Because you've met deities and they've explained this all to you, right? So, I know a lot of people cannot accept that proposition. But if you think about your life and how many mistakes you have had to make to come to the truth or to find your way, it makes sense. Creation is a free-flowing experiment. Mistakes will be made in order for there to be freedom. I mean, so according to John Lamb Lash, Sophia mistakenly created an Archon class, when she fell to create the realm. They're not physical entities, but more like a mind parasite. And I'm going to butcher this idea, so it's just, I'm doing my best. I will do my best to put this in easy to understand words. So, the Archons are basically like robotic entities who envy us. They don't have empathy, curiosity, love, playfulness, or beauty. They're cold-blooded psychopaths that just want to control others. They invade our hearts and our minds if we let them. They're not physical. We are the supreme creation here, and they're extremely jealous of that fact. They seek to dominate what they could never be. And like the title of John's book, they want to make us in their image. Greedy, jealous, heartless robots. No empathy. And man, it just seems like they have their world right now. All these heartless people following orders and hurting each other day in and day out for printed money. I mean, not even for anything special, just to have some little slave life and have your printed money. It's just, I don't know. That's why all these stories speak to me, is because, man, it seems like the creator probably made a big mistake here. With what you see around you, there's a lot of things going on that it's like, yeah, it would make sense. It's just a mistake, but we're allowing the mistake to grow. Is our mistake. So it's not even like our creators made this mistake. They did it, but then we're making it worse. And I can just kind of see how that would be the case here. Now, I know this is only a story, right? But it's something that resonates with me more than any other creation myth I've ever heard. Like, I'm not going to say I believe all that, right? It's just a story. But it's more of a beautiful creation story, that really gives us more of a direct connection to things instead of, all these other stories we've been told. The idea that this is our intended home is something we can all know. Why else are you here? What else were you born here? You want to be born here and then say, oh, I'm in the wrong place. You hear that a lot. I used to say that. Like, how am I in the wrong place? And it's like, if you're created, you're probably in the place you're supposed to be right now, right? Should be something you can know. And this story brings relief to all of us when we hear that even a deity can make mistakes. If you look around today and are honest about what you see, it's obvious mistakes were made. So next I want to talk about these archons, or simply put, rulers. People that rule over others, think they have a right to tell everybody else what to do. Shame. She really shouldn't be that way. At the head of this archonic structure is a group that claims to be the master race. And, I'm going to talk about what is going on in the world right here, right now. We could all know who this master race is that you're not supposed to talk about. You can't even mention their name in a lot of countries. You go to jail, you'll get fined. They're just trying to pass laws in America about this. If you've read your Bible, you know who I'm talking about. The J cult that shall not be named. They claim to be God's chosen people. These are the heartless psychopaths running the banking system, government, the news media, Hollywood, the music industry, big agro, big pharma, big tech, the military-industrial complex, and all the major religious cults of our time. They all go back to one race of people. All of this. Lately, the world has been turning on these psychopaths. They're getting booed everywhere they go. Like, there's just so many stories about these people going up on stage, because everybody usually claps and praises them. Because for some reason, people think they're above us. Or, they allow these people to reign above us, and they're the best, right? But lately they've been getting booed off stage. I really wonder how Christians are taking this all in. Have they figured out that they are the Goyim yet? Christians protect and serve these chosen people blindly. The God of the Bible is a God that requires child sacrifice and should not be exalted by anyone for this behavior. The story of Abraham being asked to sacrifice Isaac is proof. This God had his own son killed on a cross. This demonstrates the child sacrificing insanity of the Bible and all of that, and all these Abrahamic religions. I mean, geez, just look at history. If any of that history is real about the Crusades or the Catholic Church, I mean, it probably is. The Inquisition, how just this idea of a supreme God and a supreme people, just it allows for so much suffering and pain to go on here. I just can't believe I didn't put all this together earlier in life. I was literally blinded by the light. All right, there's a great song by Tool called Opiate, that talks about this. I'll put that in the description. I am extremely familiar with the Christian cult, as I grew up Christian. Even went to a Christian school growing up. Now that I'm out of it, I can clearly see what it did to me and what it still does to those who believe. The everyday sacrifice, as the Christians say. They have made suffering and sacrifice a virtue. To me, we were meant to be at peace here, be at love. No sacrifice, no suffering. This is our home. When you suffer, that's a sign you're on the wrong path. Sacrifice, that's a personal thing. You want to do something today to make your life better in the future. That's something, but it's not really sacrifice. That's just being wise. But this whole Christian idea about sacrificing your entire life here and putting off these pleasures and thinking that it's a good thing to not have fun or to be pleasurable and to be serious and to wait, for your heavenly realm to come, which I almost guarantee you it's not coming, especially if you sit around and allow all this stuff to go on. It's should be very extremely self-evident at this point in time. It ain't working. These belief systems in the God of child sacrifice only leads to child abuse and more just needless sacrificing. I have gone all the way from being Christian most of my life, which I dropped Christianity like 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago maybe. It hasn't been that long. I'm a whole different person now. It takes time to get that stuff out of you. But I've gone all the way from being Christian most of my life to becoming agnostic. I claim to know nothing just 6 months ago, and my first video kind of goes into that. It's like, you know what? Let's start off knowing nothing. And then I dabbled in simulation theory for a couple months. It's like maybe we're in a computer program, and I could know that, based off of what I was seeing in the sky. It kind of led me to those beliefs. This is not a hologram. And that's what these archons, these people want you to think, all these technocrat people, they want you to think you're in a stupid simulation. That you've already been defeated, right? There's this whole idea of the demiurge and how creation has been simulated here and we're trapped in a soul trap, and when we die we just get sent back to the simulation, and it's, man, talk about our imaginations running wild. But these are stories that other people have planted. When I was just watching Stargate last night, I've been getting into the old Stargate SG-1 series. Because it's kind of like Twilight Zone or something. You just never know what they're going to run into going through a Stargate to a whole nother realm. And the Stargate, it was about them going into simulation. They go into this planet and they see these people in pods. And all of a sudden, they walk by and the pod like snatches them, puts the things in them, almost like the Matrix or something. And then they wake up in a dream world. So even this simulation theory, it was back in the 90s. When the Stargate series was out, they were planting this seed of simulation theory. Elon Musk talks about simulation theory. They want you to think you're already trapped. This is all that these people have, is to twist your mind. They darken your heart and then they twist your mind into all this crazy stuff. And I allowed it. I allowed my mind to go into simulation theory and believe it. And it's like, man, I just think you kind of have to take on these beliefs and test them out to really make sure, it's real or not. So I've gone all the way from simulation theories, and now I finally think I know something, right? Like, that's the whole point of the Gnostic tradition, is you can know things. You don't have to believe. I just feel like my whole life I've known some things, and I've held on to them. I've always known it's not right for anybody to rule over anyone else. It's like, I knew it as a child. I was like, this is wrong. I couldn't believe everybody went along with it. Regardless of what story anybody tells me. I hope that all of humanity can come to terms with this truth one day. No masters, no slaves. We're all equal here. Nobody has the right to tell anybody else how to live. And I know you can use your mind and start to twist all of that into blah, 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 but it's like, it goes without saying, when somebody encroaches on you and attacks you, that's not their right. Like, you don't have to say those things. So when I say everybody has a right to decide their own life, live the way they see it, they do. Up until, they encroach on somebody else's rights, okay? That should be obvious. And it really should be obvious that you're born into that scenario of somebody encroaching on your rights automatically. They try to ingrain it into you as a child that you don't have rights, that somebody else has the right to rule over you. Oh, man. Maybe this is the age we break free. Maybe this is the time we get rid of this stupid idea and we all become courageous and brave again. What John Lamb Lash, he calls it Sophia's correction. And I call it the hybrid Gnostic theory, because I think, like, if Sophia fell, Philotai came as well. I'm like, there's no way she came by herself. If there's a father and a mother creator, the male, the father was like, you're not going down alone, right? So I personally think they're both here. They both gave themselves up to make this realm and to have us. That's just my spin on it, I guess. So it's pretty, I think this is a story not a lot of people have ever heard. It's a very suppressed story, especially because you hear about how the Christians murdered people, to get rid of this ancient knowledge. And I remember being a kid back in school, and they would tell me paganism and pagans were bad back then. They used to worship the trees and worship the plants, and it's not even what it was. They just were one with nature. They just believed in loving the earth, loving all the animals, treating everything the same. They didn't see themselves as above Mother Earth. It's like all they were talking about. And they thought it was they knew this salvationist ideology of how you need to be saved by something was just going to cause all this pain and suffering. And they were warning, they were trying to stop it back then, but I think they're like how I am, I let everybody live and do their thing here. I don't have a right to control others. I don't have a right to stop others. All I can do right now is make these videos, try to get you to see things more clearly or see it the way I see it, So it would make a lot of sense that, the peaceful people were exterminated. And the history was replaced. It's just like the story of the Indians in America, just like the story of South America. All the conquistadors went there, killed them all, stole all their gold. you know, the Mayans, the Incans, and the Aztecs, they wore all these beautiful gold, silver, brass, and copper jewelry. They had all these beautiful things, and they didn't really look at it like it was a money thing. They just wore it because it was pretty to them, and it has sentimental value, you know. But then these psycho-Europeans with their ideologies came, and oh, there's money to be had by killing these people. That's kind of been a theme throughout current history. I mean, if you look at what happened in Lahaina, in Maui, how they basically used a directed energy weapon to melt all those people and all their houses. What was it, the 8th? It was like something April 8th or August 8th of last year. It's like 8/8 of last year. That was just colonization, you know. Now, if you looked into Lahaina at all, what it's about, Zuckerberg, Oprah Winfrey, Bezos, like all these people are building giant compounds on Hawaii. And, you know, they had to kill off the local population because they want to turn that into their little hangout in Hawaii. I mean, you look at the story of Israel and how what's going on over there right now, or just how it started over there. They went and took those people's land. So what I'm talking about is verifiable. It is around you all the time. It's these people that print money, use weapons, take from others things that are not theirs. And I just know something needs to be done about it, right? So that's a big reason I make these videos. I say the things I say. A lot of mysteries out there. You know, there's I think there's a place for each of us in this battle for truth and beauty again here. So I just would encourage you to hop on board, do your thing. I'm trying to do my thing. You know, I'm on my mission of love. Join me. So I hope you enjoyed this talk. You know, I love you guys.